For the handle carpentry materials competency, with this course, this is tied in with the formwork competency, and so the required skills and knowledge, I put this up as one heading because when you look at the required skills for both competencies, the skills are exactly the same. They may vary with materials that you're using, but your skills are still essentially the same, the skills you should have. The knowledge for this competency is incredibly similar as well, especially some of the last dot points which you should be seeing if you're watching this video and you're looking on the website at the same time. If you're watching this on YouTube, you may not be seeing the information as well, which will be on the page. But there's a couple of dot points in here that are slightly different for handling carpentry materials as opposed to the formwork one. Asbestos characteristic and reporting requirements. You need to know how to identify asbestos. When you're handling carpentry materials, while you may not have asbestos around formwork for this cluster, you will have, you will come into contact, or you may come into contact with asbestos in terms of handling carpentry. If you work as a carpenter and you go in to do renovations, old houses could possibly have asbestos. You need to know the characteristics of it, what the requirements are for reporting if you do come across it, because you can't just tear it out. There's special companies that will come in and remove it safely. All right. There's carpentry material handling techniques that you need to have knowledge about. That's how do you carry timber safely, and how do you handle the different carpentry materials as well, but not just the carrying, but once you've got it inside, what's the safest and the most efficient and the best way to handle those materials where they won't get damaged. You need to have an understanding of hazardous materials found on the construction work site, and that's sort of like an overarching knowledge that you need to have, not just necessarily for this, but because they've already mentioned asbestos, but there's going to be other materials that you as a carpenter will come into contact with that could be hazardous. You know, solvents and paints, and if you're working around concrete and that sort of stuff, because you do use your carpentry materials and your carpentry skills to put formwork down. Every other dot point down under here in terms of knowledge is exactly the same as they are for the other competency within this cluster, which is why I'm not going to go over it any further. So you can just, whatever I said in the previous video applies to this one now.